This is
Yeah,
season 2
yeah, we
of Rise and
ride,
Thrive with
we
Dr. J.
thrive.
Nicole.
Yeah, we step in our light, feel good, we alive. Everything aligned, yeah, we rise and thrive with Dr. J. Nicole. Give a long way, yeah, we still growing. Feet on 10.
Welcome to Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole, where we explore life, relationships, healing, and purpose. Today's conversation is one that many people quietly carry but rarely talk about openly. We're talking about childhood trauma, survival, and what it means to grow up in circumstances you did not choose. Our guest today is Chris, some know him as Vision Simmons. Chris is now a successful healthcare professional and a network creator, a podcast host, just an overall visionary, and someone who has developed a remarkable ability to read people and understand human behavior. But his story didn't start here. Chris spent part of his childhood navigating circumstances that many children across America face, especially during the late 80s and early 90s. This was a time where many communities across the country were dealing with the impact of the crack cocaine epidemic, rising incarceration rates, economic instability, and systems that were often overwhelmed when it came to protecting children. And for many Black families in particular, these forces weren't just political conversations. They were showing up in living rooms, in schools, and in neighborhoods. Chris experienced this firsthand. He has lived through the foster care system, and today he's joining us not only to tell his story, but to begin a deeper conversation about what happens behind the scenes in foster care and how these experiences shape the adults people become. Chris, welcome to Rise and Thrive.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, no, I appreciate you because this is some serious content and just like lived experiences we're going to be, focusing on. And so before we get into the deeper parts of your story, right, I want you to start from the beginning and like when people meet you today, like they see you as this polished professional, you are thoughtful, you're successful, but every story has a starting point. So take us back to the beginning.
Okay, so actually, the beginning actually happened in California. I did not know I was born in Kansas City. Oh, sorry, Kansas City until I was 12 years old. So I didn't know that at the time.
Mhm.
We used to stay in Fontana. We stayed in Riverside. We stayed in a few places in California. So we moved around a lot. And there's a backstory behind that. The reason why we moved a lot, my mom, she was very successful, especially, at that time when I was younger. She worked at the airport. She was taking care of my grandmother. Things were going really, really well. She had a blue house with a white fence. I would never forget that house because it had a
Mhm.
orange tree in the back. And we were doing okay. We were really doing
Yeah.
well. Uh, and then after we started staying in that house for like a couple of years, she met this man named Michael Jeters. She ended up being with this guy who ended up becoming my two youngest sisters' father.
Okay.
And when that happened, that's when everything just happened. Michael did not like my grandmother. My grandmother didn't like him.
Okay.
And there was always friction in the house. And eventually, I will never forget this one time where I don't even know if it was the DEA or FBI or whatever it was, but this was when I was younger. They came to the house, they did a raid.
Okay.
I guess he was in Mexico working with the Mexicans to
The
sell drugs.
cartels.
Yeah, the cartels to
Wow.
sell drugs or something like that. Not sure what happened, but also they had some type of a rare virus that they had. And so the virus was spreading because they had, I guess, arrested the Mexican people that was, at some other houses and people were getting sick. So we had to get this vaccine and everybody had to get a shot. And it was a lot. And that's when my grandma discovered that he was actually selling drugs.
Okay.
And that's when the friction in the house really changed. And he also Michael didn't like my cousin. My cousin was staying there. He didn't like me because I was not his. And so it was pretty much this guy just came into this house and just did whatever he wanted to do. And
Okay.
my grandmother, she was like, how do you allow this man to come into with your family and come in here and just do this? How do you have him come in here and just destroy everything that you built? You don't need him. He's sucking up everything from you. And her favorite saying is that, his dick is not made of gold. Because, I
Mhm.
don't know, maybe that's what it was. But
Yeah.
he offered nothing. And eventually after that raid, we started, having like people scouting the house. I don't know if it was the FBI or CIA, but they were scouting the house and et cetera. And eventually we ended up losing that house.
Okay.
So lost the house, we lost the car, and then we were moving to shelters. We were moving from home to home. We moved to different hotels, and it was always something. Him and my grandmother used to fight a lot. And so
Mhm.
my grandmother, of course, I mean, my mom is her daughter, so she tried to rock with her as much as she can. But
Mhm.
eventually, she just went ahead and went to the senior citizen place and just said, "Forget this." Went into the senior citizen homes, which was really nice. She met some friends there and everything. They had their own little house, not condos, but it's like more of townhomes. So they
Okay.
had her little townhomes and everything, and that's where she found peace because she know that she could no longer stay with my mom because it was my grandma was very smart. It's better to build with family than to not build at all. And a lot of people are like, oh, I did it on my own and everything. Black people are the only ones that do that. We the only ones that talk like that. Everybody else, Latins, Asians, they could band together and put their money and resources together, get a nice house, and that way everybody saved before they go into their own journey.
Yeah.
And after that, it just went downhill. I remember that, we had to sleep close. When we stayed in the shelters, we
Mhm.
had some older white men that used to try to touch my little sisters. And it would be like when we sleep at night. And so we had to my mom had to fight them off and everything because they wouldn't let Michael stay there because he's a grown man. So it was only
Mhm.
women and children.
Yes, that's how the system and the resources are set up for women and children.
But they will always have these white men. I don't know how they got in there. They'll get in and there was always some drama or something that was going on. And so my mom was like, we can't do this no more. It was just going from shelter to shelter and home to home. So eventually, we end up moving and leaving to go to Nevada. She met some cousins that was out there, and so we went to go stay with them. And we went out there, and then guess who comes a few months later? Michael. I'm like, why is this man? It just is following us, and it's like it didn't make any sense. She was just getting on her feet. She had got a
Mhm.
job, lost the job. The apartment was going into eviction status all types of things. So from there, well, we had to move to Wichita. But my aunties, they was like, Michael's not coming. So you need to get out of here. I don't care what he does, you need to figure that out. The rest of my family didn't like the man. So we moved to Wichita. That was my first time experiencing real cold. That cold, woof, that negative, I think it was -7 or 8.
Welcome to the Midwest.
Yes, that cold was severe. I've never experienced anything like that. So I've always hated Kansas. I've never liked the Midwest, always hated it ever since. And it was bone chilling, but it was good that we were able to be with family.
Yeah.
And my aunt, everything was going very well. But you know how family gets sometimes.
Today, we're talking about something that completely transformed the way that I evaluate my life, my decisions, my relationships, and my relationship with God. The fruit of the Spirit. If you've been going to church any amount of time, you've probably heard the list before: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self control. But somewhere along the way, many of us started viewing this as personality trait rather than evidence. The fruit of the Spirit isn't a checklist, it's evidence, right? Evidence that we're walking with God, evidence that God is working in us, evidence that we're becoming more like Christ. Don't delay starting the journey. Order your copy today. Okay, y'all, the secret is finally out. We are going to Bali. When I say I am excited, that is an understatement. I want you to think lush rice terraces, breathtaking waterfalls, incredible food, rich culture, unforgettable sunsets, and the kind of memories that you'll be talking about for years. We'll be traveling March 27th through April 2nd, 2027. So all you have to do is show up and experience while the planning is handled for you. But here's the part that you really need to know. There are only 8 early bird spots. And after those have been claimed, the price increases and you can reserve your spot for only 25% down. And payment plans are available through Affirm. You've been saying that you want to travel more. Consider this your sign. Consider this an answered prayer. And come on and come to Bali with me. Let's make some unforgettable memories. Don't miss out. Join the VIP list today.
You wear your welcome out.
Yeah.
And I guess my aunt and my mom wasn't seeing eye to eye on a lot of stuff. So my mom ended up finding her another house. So she ended up finding another house, and we started staying there. Grandma came. We were doing good. Guess who comes a few months later? Michael.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just sitting here like, Jesus Christ, like, what is going on? Well, what is this about this Michael? And even the family, the cousins, they like, what is it about him? Everybody got into it with him. Everybody, all my family members got into it with him. And eventually she ended up losing her car. She ended up losing that place to stay. So we went from there and we moved to Kansas City. That's where I got most of my start from, Kansas City, Kansas. She got a job there and everything. She met a friend. Her name was Shannon, a white lady, was pretty cool,
Mm-hmm.
and she was doing okay. And then Michael wanted to gang bang. He wanted. It was always something about gang banging and drugs, and I was like, he doesn't offer anything. He can't keep a job. He's not contributing. Why are you with this man? It's not making sense at all. And so from there, things were just like always rocky, and then that's where a lot of the abuse that I was experienced with him when I was in California, it just amplified over there. And so that's when from there I went from living with them to then going to foster care.
Okay. Wow, Chris, that's and this occurred over the course of how many years? Like from California to Nevada to Kansas.
I think I was probably 7 years old. 'Cause
Okay.
I remember some things.
Yeah, your memory is really sharp and the blue house, the white fence and
Mhm.
everything, right? So, what was the role of substances or drugs in all of this that was happening?
Oh, so he well, this is when weed was illegal at the time. Everybody weed this, weed that, and I was like, so weed was one of the biggest things. But it was also speed.
Mhm.
There was a thing called Sherm.
Mhm.
There was another one, well, crack was one of the ones. So it
Mhm.
was all these things. It was a lot of these different drugs that I guess he was selling, but weed was the biggest one. I don't know if he got caught because of crack or if he got caught because of weed, but that was the things that kind of was the big thing. And I don't know if you guys ever watched the show Snowfall. It
Mhm.
kind of tells you about how the drugs come over. And I said it was so spot on. That's why I love that show. I just finished it not too long ago. I said it's exactly what I remember growing up.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite shows. I said it was a spitting image of it. People, family members fighting, him and it was the gang bangers, the Bloods and the Crips. It was all that stuff happening. But those were some of the drugs that he was dealing with.
Mm. And he was dealing, what about using?
Yes. Oh yeah. He was
Okay.
using, my mom was using, my cousin, he was doing weed. He didn't mess with none of the other stuff,
Mhm.
but definitely she was using. You can tell that her demeanor, her attitude went from being, it went from being pleasant, I guess, how I remember her that one a few times, to just being a straight demon. Like when I tell you she was a spitting image of Marion from Precious, the movie, Monique's character, spitting image. The cussing, the screaming, the accusing, all that stuff.
Wow, Chris. And I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Like that's
Right.
so much. And so wow. I'm just letting that sink in. Like my mind is so visual that I'm trying to imagine what you look like at 7 years old, this cute kid with his big smile and how people are just mishandling you, right? And you said so abuse started in California and
Yes.
he was abusing you.
Yes. He
Physic
was
Go
he was
ahead.
mostly physically and mentally. I remember a few times where I didn't do anything wrong to this man. He was just mad at something, especially like him when him and my grandma got into it.
Mhm.
take it out on me, and he would wait until she leaves because my grandmother fought men. You know, this is back these women back then fought the men because I mean, it was a different time back then. Back then you can hit your wife and oh well, that's everybody's so Bible-ish back then. You're supposed to one was supposed to be the submissive to the man. And people take this Bible just too much. My
I
grandma just
think
didn't
it's
play that
more patriarchy, but some people will
that
misuse
too.
the Bible to justify that abuse. Yeah.
And that's what happened, and so my grandma's used to fight men, so him and my grandma used to have heavy fights. My grandma would pick up a crowbar, she'll pick up a bat, "Let's go." That's why she was such a good protector, and so when they got into a fight or anything happened, I don't care if it's because he had a bad day, he'll wait for her to leave, wait for my mom to leave. I remember one time he threw me so hard that I put a dent in the wall and I was passed out.
Oh my goodness.
I remember that I will never forget this one time. We was at another house, well, apartment, and I guess he was upset that I don't know what my grandmother did, and he was like, I guess somebody had told on him that he did something. I don't know what it was or what he told on, and so what he did is he called his friends to the house. He was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm about to, I'm about to get back at her." And his friend came to the house and he was like, "Get your ass up." And I said, "You know, what did I do?" He said, "I'm gonna beat your ass." And I ran to go to the bathroom and I locked the bathroom door. This man broke in the door caved in, broke in the door pieces fell off. He dragged me by my leg, dragged me out, and he had like a punching bag in his bedroom with my mom. And he took the punching bag off and he put the thing on there and he handcuffed me and put me on the thing. And they got the belt and he just whipped me. And I think I was whipped for, oh my God, a good 30 minutes nonstop.
And these are
And
2 adult men that did this to you.
yes, and I had whelps on my leg, whelps on my back, whelps on my arm. And his friend was spinning me around and I got dizzy and he was like, "Yeah, yeah, we doing this, we got him." And I don't even know what the happened between him and my grandmother. I don't know what it was about,
Yeah.
but he whipped me so bad I passed out.
Yeah.
And my grandma came home and she was like, "What happened?" and all that. And they had a whole fight. And I think that fight, I think we didn't see him for probably 3 months, 3 months. And then my mom snuck him back in and was my I'm just not trying to be mean, but she was an idiot. I'm sorry. It's just I did not see nobody in the family saw it. None of my uncles saw it, none of my aunties saw it, they said we didn't get it. The guy doesn't contribute to nothing. He can't keep a job, he's on drugs, he's not a good looking guy. We just don't get it. We don't get it at all.
Yeah,
But
and more than anything, he was abusing her child.
yes, and she really didn't care. It was like, "Oh, he probably did something wrong." It was always a justification to do that, and he only hit my sister one time, and she became like his little lap dog. So because she was so scared, she had to tell on everybody. And I heard this, and I mean, this man was truly demonic. I tell people, I said when I tell people about my past and everything, they were like, "Oh my God, all this stuff happened." I said, "I mean, that's just life." And the abuse happened at multiple houses. I remember he one time he sat on my face and so I was sitting on the bed. So the bed, let's say the bed is like this,
Mhm.
and my head is right here, but my body is bent, so my legs are right here. And he
Mhm.
sat on my face and he had his friend beat me and I told him I couldn't breathe and I passed out from him beating me like that. And I was so afraid to tell my grandmother because when she leaves, he'll beat me. And my mom, she really didn't care. And my sister was scared to say anything. And it just became too much. And every time she brought him back, leave California. We go to this house. Here he's coming back. We go to this next house. Here he's coming back. We went to Nevada. Months later, he's here. Then we go to Kansas. Once you get on house, then he's back. I just didn't get it. So I didn't feel safe around him. And
You were
Kansas was,
around him. You had the proof, you had the scars, the welts to prove it, all of the lived experience to prove it was not safe. Now, when you say your mom didn't care, she she blamed you, she justified it,
yes.
rationalized it. So that also meant you weren't safe with her either.
I wasn't. And She would whoop me. The drugs made it even worse. And I got some beatings from her, but most of my beatings came from him. But it came to a head in Kansas City. So this is where my journey to foster care happens at. So
Before you get there, what's what was the where does your biological father fit into all of this?
oh, I don't know him at all. I actually did the ancestry.com,
Mhm.
23andMe, all those, find your family, find your whatever. I did
Yeah.
all those. Nothing populated. Most of the people that populated was like immediate family that
Mhm.
did do it, and some distant people. And the distant people I did reach out to, I said, hey, they have a chat feature. Do you know the last name Simmons? Do you know anybody? Nobody knows.
Mm.
So, like, it's kinda hard to do that, and fast forwarding from all that up until now, I reconnected with my biological uncle probably 3 years ago.
Maternal?
Yes,
Okay.
and reconnected with him and everything, and he pretty much told me, he was trying to get me reconnected with my mom after all this stuff that happened, but the only way to find him is to you gotta have a first or last name. You gotta give the people something to be able to
Like
find these people.
investigation or something, yeah.
Yeah, and he tried to find he wanted to ask her, and I don't know what happened, but, when he went to go talk to her, because he likes to ease into things, so he went to call her up, and I guess I don't know how the conversation went, it was very short, but she was like, "I don't got no other brothers." Now, she got 4 brothers, 4. She's like, "I ain't got no other brothers, my only brother is Tony," and hung up in his face.
Hmm.
And he wanted me to
Right.
reconnect. Yeah, and he wanted me to reconnect, and I was just like, "You want me to reconnect with that? After 25 plus years?" I said, "Nah, I'm good." I said, "Look how she's treating you." And I said, "You ain't done nothing to her. You just asking her about things." And that's how she's acting. I don't want to be around that. I have too much going on. I work way too hard. I don't want to be a part of that. So at the current time, I do not know how to find him.
Okay. All right. So just before that, you're about to take us to Kansas City,
Yes.
where the major shift and things turned and you went into foster care. So take us
Mhm.
back to that time and the moments that led up to that.
So this is where things kind of took a real big turn. So he mostly did the beatings, right? And before they got to there, my grandmother, she came to stay with us and everything, and I'll miss her. Like that's how I learned how to cook because I had to. I've been working since I was 12 years old. Actually, I always say 13, actually 12 years old. My first
Mhm.
job was babysitting. And I used to babysit, and then I worked for candy trucks, the little local candy trucks that used to come around, and they used to have the tubs, and I would do the tubs, and I would go around, and it was great for me because I was able to get out the house. So I would get out the house and I'd be gone for hours. So I never really had interactions with Michael. And then by doing that, I was able to meet other people and other friends. And so I was able to spend the night at people's house, and she really didn't care. Go get out my house. Like, so I felt, I think I was the most grownest kid ever. I was able to do things.
Yeah, when you look at what you had been through and experienced, and those types of things force you to grow up more quickly, become more
Hmm.
self-sufficient, because you can't depend on the adults. Like you had grandma, but she wasn't there every day. So yeah, you had to learn these things. You learned how to cook and all these
Yeah.
things. So and
And it
it's
was it,
our community.
that's why I miss her so much. She passed away a few years ago. I never knew she passed away until I met my uncle again. But I learned how to cook, a lot of breakfast food, eggs and bacon and stuff like that. Uh, Even though I don't eat pork, but I can make mean pork chops. I
Right.
can fry them, I can saute them, I can bake them, very good at that. So no, she was really good at cooking and everything. And so I had to learn that because when she was gone or when she went back to California or whatever, they wouldn't cook. They too busy in there getting high. They smoking the pipe. They got friends over. Everybody were having parties and stuff. So by the time, I mean, I had to literally learn how to cook for my sisters and myself. And
Mhm.
then there became times where she didn't have no money. He definitely didn't have no money. He don't work. He didn't want to do anything. He just wanted to gang bang and do drugs. And that's what it was. So I had to work at, these candy trucks to get money to put food in the house. So that was the way that my sisters were able to eat. And so because of that, you know, that that was one of those things that I do remember about her before things took a turn for the worse. And what bothered me is that my grandmother, she she came. This was her last time, and I remember every time she come, there was this light, there was this love, there was, I felt protection. So I could come in, walk in. I know he ain't gonna say nothing to me. And she even said, "Once I leave, you leave."
Mm,
And so then I will go and spend the night at friend's house and etc. And that's how I was able to build things. And then from, working at those candy trucks and stuff, I was able to do that as well. So I had to build my own network at the age of 12 and 13. I
yeah.
just had to do that. And I don't know what happened, but my mom had surgery. Something was wrong with her. So she had surgery. Michael, my mom's husband, was up. He was always upset that my mom named his youngest daughter, because he only has two with her, after my grandmother, which is Beverly Jean Hunter.
The
And
one
it,
that he does not get along with, his
yes.
nemesis. Yeah.
And so she got some beatings. And so I had to be there for her, and I would take the beatings for her. That way she didn't get them. But there's times where I was gone when my grandma go, I left too, and I would come back and she would be crying, and she's only like 6, 7 years old, and I think they were younger than that. I think they were about 5 or 6,
Mhm.
and she would tell me that he was beating on her, and he picked her upside down and whooped her, and then threw her against the bed, and like all these types of things. But he
Mm,
never did that to the other one that was the name that he wanted her to have, and it was it it got to a point my grandma came back and she was hearing about what was happening. And so that's why she would come back very often. And once my mom had the surgery, I don't know what happened, but my sister BJ was downstairs watching TV. I was upstairs doing something, and we just heard this loud curling scream, and she was screaming and stuff. And she ran upstairs. She said, my grandma said, "What happened?" Well, daddy, he stomped on my back a few times. So he stomped on her back. I'm not sure why it happened. And it was like bruised. It was like this bruise, you can tell. My
mhm.
grandma, OG, he's from the 40s. And she fight. I mean, the women had to fight back then. She was up there upstairs ironing the clothes. She took the iron, she wrapped that cord around her, and all I know is she came, came upstairs, and my mom, because I guess he was trying to talk to my mom about what happened, and I was like, no, he lied about something. And my grandma said, "Move out the way," and she just wham, and the iron was hot, and it gashed him, so he has this big gash on his face.
Yeah.
And he picked up something and tried to toss it at her, and they was fighting like two men in there.
Yeah.
My grandma had to do that. And my mom finally got up, got the strength, and she had like bandages, so like the bandages and the we call those the staples and stuff was coming out and it was leaking in blood, and she had to stop it. My grandma said, "You know what? I'm done." She
Mhm.
says, "This has been going on for years. I
Yeah.
don't know what you see in this man. I don't know why you're with him. The family don't know why you're with him. He don't contribute nothing. He ain't." And she says, "You will not see me coming back here ever again."
Mm.
And I knew when that happened, I said, "Oh my God, the protection is going to be gone." I felt sorry for my little sister, but if she ain't come gonna be there, I already knew what he was gonna do to me.
Yeah.
Especially with that gash, I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. And so my grandma told me, she says, "I'm sorry that I can't be here to protect y'all. But your mom don't understand. She don't get this." And she says, "I love y'all so much. I will talk to you on the phone daily." And that was it.
Mm.
And she left and went back to California. None of the cousins came around no more. My aunts, this man was true demonic to the T.
Yeah, so he succeeded in truly isolating her where her own family
Uh-huh.
stopped fighting for her, stopped even fighting for her soul, you know? And I heard you say, like, everyone's like, "I don't know what you see in him. I don't know what you see in him," right? And
Mhm.
some of it is what she doesn't see in herself and her own deficits. Like, women who find themselves in these types of unhealthy relationships, they have some deep healing that they need too. And it can come from many of things, but also I think it's an identity crisis. When you don't understand who you are, what value you bring, and just how amazing you are, anyone can come tell you these things, and if it's not built in, right, like,
Mhm.
then you now are connected to this person, and something that I've learned too is that if people are staying in relationships, even if they're harmful and abusive like you're describing, some sort of need is still being met, and that's how they are able to be there regardless of how bad it was,
Mhm.
but for them, they're getting what they need, and they will trade it off.
Yeah.
And if I had to guess, right, I would say your mom didn't really love herself. And when you hear what you've told us, and you've not even gone deep, 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 right? You're giving a surface, but some pretty dramatic stories, right? Like, excuse me, dramatic experiences, because they're not stories. These things actually happen. And for a person to continue to stay connected to a person like this over these years, it really does speak to like those strongholds. And when people talk about like covenants, you know what I mean? And how sex is used in that way, right? And you mentioned like demonic and just like the connection and the control. Like when we have sex, we not just having sex, right? Like it's a deep and I think a lot of people have learned to disconnect from the like spiritual piece of it and just like approach it from pleasure. But there's so many things that happen in our body and our brains, the things that are released that we our high, if you will, right? And we get hooked on what we felt, that euphoria, you know what I mean, at the peak of it, right? And want to have it again. And there are some people who that's how they try to get your mind, right? Because you've given them access to you in a different way, right? And I think men and women are susceptible to this, but they get this access in a different way and you allow them and then only the 2 people in the bedroom know what's being said. And what's being said and what's being taken in during that time, the programming that's happening, right? So you're experiencing abuse. No doubt your mom is also being emotionally abused, physically abused, maybe even sexually by him as well. And so there's a whole thing that's happening that y'all are not privy to. And it's impossible to understand.
Mhm.
But the trade-off, you would think it's not worth it at all, but apparently it was for her. So, was this the point that led to foster care?
No, that was the point that my grandmother left because she can't I mean, my grandma was
Can't keep
50,
fighting like that.
50 in her 50s, fighting a grown man who's in his 30s. She's like, "I'm not trying to be here and do this for you, and you wanna be with this man that has made you lose everything. You lost your bank accounts, you lost multiple houses, you lost your cars, you lost everything, and then the family doesn't wanna be around as well. So you lost everything." And she says, "What
Well,
am I sitting here
it
fighting
sounds like
for?"
she gave it up. She surrendered those things to be with him.
Yeah, she did.
She sacrificed to be with him.
And so what I did was, of course, when I knew that she was leaving and she wasn't coming back, I said, I'm going to be staying at friend's house. And so that's where I was always gone. And so one day I had to come back and get some clothes because some of my clothes were still there. I mean, I haven't been there in like months.
Okay.
And I not sure what happened. My little sisters was downstairs playing and they were playing that blue magic grease.
Mhm.
And I guess, the other sister, Deja, was eating the grease or something, or gave it to BJ to eat the grease. I don't know what the full story was. They had just walked in, and then all I hear is this like screaming down there, "Y'all here eating this grease and you're eating blue magic. What you?" And I guess they said I told them to, because they're so scared of this man that
They
they know that
put it on
he
you.
can get, yeah, he can get the beating. They said that way they don't have. It was like clockwork. He can get it. I'm upstairs. I hear that they was like, "Oh, you had them eating this grease and everything." I said, "I don't even know what y'all talking about. I wasn't even downstairs." "Oh yeah, we about to beat your ass. We about to." And so he was all pumped up to beat on me and everything. And I remember, I had on some pajamas. I was just getting. I just got out the shower, putting on my pajamas and everything, so I'm still kind of wet. And what he did. I guess he was getting ready and he was getting pumped and he went in there to go find the belt or whatever. And my mom was in the room. So there's like these dividers of the house. So
Mm,
sometimes you can't see anything. And something told me just run. I opened that door and I ran away.
mm.
That was my first time running away from the house. And I ran away and it was so cold. I had no shoes on, no socks, no nothing. I just was gone. I
What
ran all the way. What happened?
I said, "What month was this? What time of year?"
Oh, this is winter. It
Okay.
was, I think it was either -1 or 0. It was around that time. So it was cold. That concrete is cold. And
Yes.
I ran to 7-Eleven and it was so cold, my feet couldn't go no more. So I sat there and I just, kind of bundled up right there. And the guy at the 7-Eleven, they kind of was like, "It's a little kid out here and no shoes on and pajamas and everything." And so the cops came and that was my first experience in foster care in
Okay.
terms of what they do is, they took you there, they asked me some questions.
So there as in the station?
The police there, yes. But
Okay.
they take you to, there's a they actually which is interesting, they take you to the juvenile detention center. That's where they keep all the kids. So I tell people, listen, when people say, "Oh, they're at the juvenile detention center," that doesn't mean they did something bad because they have shelters in there. So they have the jail part for the kids that's crazy and killed somebody, and then they have the shelters on the other side.
So right there, my brain is going off that I'm like, this is creating a presence, a pipeline system because a
Mhm.
kid coming for help is going to the same place as a
Yes.
kid who's actually committed some sort of crime, some assault, and it's programming foster children to go to prison.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's just how it is. So on the side, when they take you to the main portion, you do see kids. There was one kid. I remember that he had set his whole family on fire and had murdered him or something. He was in that same room. I don't remember the guy's name. It was so many kids in there, but they kept them on the other side, and they kept the kids that like had runaways or families that gave them up. They couldn't take care of them. They were on the other side, but you were all in that kind of that same area.
Mhm.
And that was they had assigned me this lady named Julie Doyle. Will never forget her name. She was Mrs. East rock hair. It was always like black and fluffy. And
Yeah.
she was an evil racist lady. She was
Okay.
evil. But I was going to a temporary placement. They already had stuff done. And I see that she was not very happy to just deal with me in general. So they had somebody else drive me off and drop me at this doctor's house. His name was Dr. Montolio. I'll never forget his name. White family. He had two children. It was him and his wife. And I remember, you remember Antoine Fisher?
Mhm.
Remember when at the end of the movie, he finally got with his family, it was that whole spread and everything? Because my mom and her husband treated me so bad, I was so malnourished. I don't look like what I look now. I on the show, I said flies on your eyes and Ethiopian and that's how I looked. I was razor thin. You seen rib cage. That's
Yeah.
how bad I looked. And so I guess they had told the family that, and that's why they had did that and made all this food for me. But my stomach was so little, I couldn't eat too much. And I went upstairs and went to bed. And I remember he was so nice. And his wife was so nice and was so accomplished. And they stayed in, I think it was Olathe or Overland Park. I don't remember, but it's the same area, the affluent white neighborhood. Let's just call it what it is.
Mhm. Mhm.
And he took me out the next day, bought me all these clothes and everything because I had nothing. Like I came pajamas and feet. That's all I
Mhm.
had.
Mhm.
And so once he did all that and everything, they're called temporary placements. There's so many different things in foster care, but it's a temporary placement. So I was only supposed to be there for a max of 3 days because these families, they have to rotate and do other things. I don't know how that works, but that's what it was. But I guess when took me back to the facility, the juvenile detention center, because I was only be there for 72 hours, and they want to see if they want to reunite me with my mom, whatever. I was as a kid, you don't know what to decide, you
Mhm.
know. But I told him, I said, I feel safe with him. I don't really feel safe with her, but I don't know anything else. And so the courts, which is so interesting, this is why I tell you that you got some judges are just idiots. The court was like, because he wanted to, Dr. Martone was like, this is a good kid, he has potential. Like, he has some kids that he was like and even he said he's had some kids that were temporary placements. I wouldn't let them come back into my house. I wouldn't help them with nothing. That's how
Mhm.
I mean, you got some kids that just that you can't help them. So they wanted to kinda like temporary, like make me into a permanent foster kid to then go to adoption. Julie Doyle didn't want that. That white lady didn't want that. And then I don't know how she spoke to the judge, but the judge was like, "Oh, well, he should go back with his mother." Knowing that all this stuff happened, right? And
Mhm.
so that was my first time meeting her. I guess she was like the premier caseworker because I had a lot of good ones up there, like big names, but she was like the big one. She's been in the industry for a long time. And so she got her way. I ended up going back to the house and everything. And when I went back to the house, it was this eerie feeling, but I think the state scared them.
Okay.
So he wasn't as abusive. Like, actually, he didn't even touch me no more. The cops was
Okay.
there. You game making, you selling drugs. The cop. I think the state scared him to death because there was cops and police and everybody. And then also, if you're involved in that stuff, the other drug deals and stuff like, oh, y'all involved in too much with the
Yep.
government.
You get cut
Now
off.
you get cut off. So now we got an eye on you now. Now they're coming here doing inspections of the house because you're beating on this kid. And then
Ah,
then
mhm.
some of the game bangers didn't know about that and they found out about it and they was like, yeah, we don't like you touch it's just like in prison. You touching on kids and doing okay, we gotta watch you now. We don't like that. So it was actually protection. So I will give the state of Kansas that. It was the protection that they offered to me.
Okay.
And even my mom, but I could tell um it was like a eerie, it was a fake nice. They was really upset. They wanted to do something, but they was really upset. And that was probably it lasts for a few good months. And then she had that was probably the safest I've been since forever.
Yeah.
And then the next minute I know, they met some new drug dealers or something like that. There was a new
Mhm.
drug that came out. I don't even know what the drug was. And I was washing dishes. And it was funny because my friend who's actually related to me down the line, which I found out later, yeah, he was related to me down the line, but I call him my brother. We're related, so we're actually cousins. But because I went to go like stay with them later in foster care, like around like just to visit and everything, they kind of adopted me as like more of an immediate family.
Yeah.
And he was there. My friend Eddie was there, and we video games was a good pastime for me because being beaten, almost daily by my uncle, not my uncle, but my mom's husband, and just the depressing state of the house and the energy, it was a lot. So
Escape, yeah.
so I don't know what drug this man gave her. She flipped out and she came into the kitchen and they were there. So I was glad I had witnesses because when you're talking about this, and he could tell you about the story as well. You'll meet him eventually. I was washing dishes and she came in there just screaming and yelling at me. I don't know what it was. And she was like, "Yeah, you didn't have these white people at my goddamn house, the goddamn state up in here talking that shit. And you did all this and you got us, the cops over here, and the gang bangers are scared to come over here and stuff. You got all that started. And I'm looking at her like, what the? It was out of the clear blue.
Yeah.
And I don't know what drug he gave her. And I was like, I didn't, what? I'm, I was lost. I mean, it was peaceful. Even my friends felt peaceful because they were scared to even go over there. People didn't even want to go to the house. That's how much they knew that all the stuff was going on in the house.
Mhm.
And I was like, I don't know what she's talking about. And she's like, yeah, what you got to say about that? And she was like getting in my face and she was putting her hand in my face. And she said, yeah, you didn't did that shit. You did that on purpose. I should have killed your ass when I had the chance way back then and everything. I should have had Michael kill you. And I just don't know. And so I just turned to her. Now I had some dishes in my hand and it was a plate and a fork. And I turned around and I said, what is going on? What did I do to you? Nigga, you trying to stab me. You trying to stab me. Oh, and and Eddie and my friend, or my brother Brett, they looking like, what the fuck is going on here? And they're sitting here watching this whole thing from her. And she said, oh yeah, you trying to kill me? Get your and get the fuck out of my house. Fine. I packed up my stuff, took all my stuff and everything. And we had a cousin, which she was weird, and her and my mom never really liked each other. and I went to go to her house, but as I was packing my stuff, the yelling and screaming, everybody knows what's going on in that house, so it creates an audience. The next door neighbors came out, everybody hears her screaming and yelling and all this stuff. And, Eddie and Brad, they're helping me get all my stuff and everything, and as I was about to walk down the door, she said, "You tried to stab me, huh?" She had a knife in her hand, and she went like this to try to stab me, and I ran out the door, and she tried to go, and there was so many people there, so she almost stabbed some of the people there and everything, so everybody kinda scattered and was screaming, and I ran, she said, "Don't you bring your back here." And that was the last time I saw her,
Understandably so.
and it that was a lot, and it was everybody, even, Brad, when he talks about it today, he says, "Man," he says, "Your mom was f***ing crazy." "I would never forget that."
You cannot forget something like that,
He
and even
says
how he felt in that moment witnessing this.
yes. We talk about it on occasions and everything because, we he had family issues and stuff as well with his mom. It's a lot, and I'll stay with my cousin now. She was blind allegedly,
Or
and
just
that's why
legally blind. I mean, completely.
I don't really know because it was always the stuff, it was always weird stuff. And I went to stay with her, and she had a young kid, she had a daughter, and she had her oldest son. Now, her oldest son was a senior at the time, but then he came to live with her again around. This is a gateway townhome, so this is by the projects.
Mm.
Everybody want to be in the gang, and I understand it because there's no resources. That's why
Mhm.
I
And
say
family, you have protection, you have
yes,
resources, you have belonging, but
and
they
they get
end up getting abused anyway.
that part, in the gangs, and so that's why I never understood the gangs, especially the black gangs. And they know the gang stuff today don't run like the gangs way back in the '80s. I mean, they protected the community. They don't do that now.
Mm.
It's all about what they can get out of it. You did something to me, we need to go pop Ray Ray right now.
Once the crack hit, like,
Yes,
you saw communities
die.
shift, like, in major downgrade. Like you said, die. You saw
Yes,
communities
ma'am.
die. You saw people you seen mothers trying to kill their sons.
Yes, and that's what it was. So, I mean, the gangs was the way to pay bills, and that's how he was making his money. And so my cousin she's actually my mom's cousin. She
So
there
your
because they were
second
both in their
cousin.
yeah, late 30s or something like that. So they were cousins. So I would be considered their cousin as well.
Mm.
And she told me one day, "Oh, you got to find something to do. You got to pay some rent or something around here and everything."
Mhm.
I'm 12 years old.
Mhm.
I said, "Huh?" And so, because I already had the experience working with candy trucks and stuff, I decided to work for another truck. And then also, we worked for it was called Dennis Moore of Congress. He was a congressman running back in the late 90s,
Mhm.
and went there and made some money and was bringing it back. And she was like, "Oh, this ain't enough to pay the bills and light bill." Now, her son, with his raggedy ass, didn't do nothing. Slanging that dope, he was spending money on the girls, spending money on, liquor and alcohol and everything, so but instead of focusing on him, I think the people take it out on somebody like she took it out on me,
People
and I'm
need
just
a
like,
victim. Some people
"Yeah,
need somebody to dominate, somebody to abuse, like, it's in them already, and they're likely a person who's experienced a lot of abuse themselves.
yeah," and I think and that's why I said I don't know if she was really blind because there was some things that she saw, and I was like, "Well, if you blind, you shouldn't be able to see anything," so I don't know what the truth was,
Right.
but, she just became just more meaner and meaner towards me. And her daughter was out there sleeping around and stuff, and she was, 13, I think 13, 14. So she's out there sleeping around. So it was all these things going on. And I gave her all the money I was having. And then one day I came back from school and I see the cop cars out there. Something happened because I know her son is in all these
Mhm.
gangs.
Mhm.
And I go in and they was there for me. And there was a there was 2 caseworkers, but it was a black woman, and, what bothers me about black people is that we have this nasty, uppity-ass attitude towards each other for no reason. We treat each other like and she was like, "Oh, you the kid that, she talking about? Go ahead and put your hands behind your back and everything. You gonna get up on out of here."
So she told a lie to hold
Yes,
you
and
down.
said that I was involved with, bringing drugs into her house. I didn't even know where to get the goddamn drugs at. I don't know any gang bangers. I've never been a part of a gang. That she said I brought some people in there to rob her. It was weird. And so they put me in the car. They took my little belongings. I had a little brown box. It was like this, probably this big. That's all I had. And I'm going to school. Her daughter don't even go to school. Her son don't even go to school. So I'm sitting here like, okay, so this was my final initiation into foster care. So at this time, they know that, I've already been there before. They know the history of what happened at my mom before I left my mom's house. So they sent you again back to the juvenile detention center. But I was still put into the shelter unit because of the two things that happened. And also, what the cops know that area, and they're like, we know her son because her son has been arrested in that house, so they already kind of know that this kid ain't the one that did it. But it's always what bothered me is the white lady was nicer to me than the damn black lady,
Mhm.
and I'm sitting here looking like, and that was
You
that
might
was
have
my
shared a lot of those same views of the people that were abusing you and, like, aligned
yeah
with them, right? Like, I've, spirits talk, right?
yes
And so just because a person is the same skin tone melanated as you, holding a particular position, it does not mean that they're gonna be a good person. It's
mhm,
about the spirit, right? And I think that's one of those things we can get caught up in is that we just look at race, we look at ethnicity, and it's more of a spiritual thing that's happening. And excuse me, Chris, you have been under attack. Like we're
yes
talking about this, so like we are not just body. We are a spirit within a body, right? And I'm of the belief that the more that comes against you, and the earlier it comes against you, the bigger the calling, the bigger the purpose is on your life. Because what I do know is that the enemy is not coming for anyone that's not a threat.
yeah
And for you to experience that from your mother, your stepfather, and you probably don't even like to call him that, the man she was married to, and then other people who are allegedly family.
mhm.
Okay, they're family, but they don't act like it. And they also mishandle you, right? So, like, my clinical mind once would be curious about what happened in previous generations. And even what you described, the way that you were strung up, that's a clear visual from the enslavement period. So that he's telling you his family's history by the way he's abusing you. That's deep. Like what's in us, it comes out of us. It comes out in our actions, it comes out in our words, the decisions we make, who we surround ourselves with, right? And so this is a person, and I'm not making excuses, but Michael's trauma that's been passed down intergenerationally, you received it physically. These are the things he's seen and likely experienced. And we know where these types of things, come from, at least our exposure to them here, right? Because they're also pretty cruel over in Rome, you know, when you hear about just like torture, like that's where a lot of these things come from. But and somehow this still didn't break you.
Mm.
You're 10 years old. 10 years old. You've seen more. Like you had war without any weapons, just with your feet and your mouth. My goodness. Okay. So you're back there. This is like the final initiation.
Yes. And with this, I was again assigned Julie Doyle.
Well, because probably Julie already knew your file, and Julie was probably clocking
And
your file if we're talking about this spiritually.
yeah,
Julie was there to make sure that your spirit was broken.
and she did her best. That she was when he wanted to Dr. Martolian when he wanted to adopt me, but she got upset because I didn't tell you this. So when he wanted to adopt me before we had went to like the whole court proceeding or whatever, what she did was, Julie and him was talking, and I was like outside the door, and and she said, "Oh, I have all these children now. I could see the children," and she had all these files. They were all white kids.
Mhm.
But as Dr. Montoya was looking at the stuff, he's looking at these kids' files. He's like, "Well, this one did arson, and this one is a habitual runaway, and this one right here, he tried to stab his mom." He says, "Why are you trying to give me these white children? And that's the kid that I want out there to stay at my house. I'm not understanding this. We're going to get him replaced back with his family." So she had pulled with the judge to do that to put me back in that situation. Because if my mom would have been able to stab me, I would probably been stabbed right now. I don't know if I'd have made it or what. I don't know. We just don't know.
Yeah,
But
we don't
but
know.
I made it. And so I said she's the reason why I was put back into that situation.
Mhm.
And he came out the door, and I remember he says, "I'm sorry, there was nothing I could do out there, but I'll give you my pager number." So he gave me his pager number, and then eventually, they found out that he had gave me the pager number, and she took the pager number away from me. She said, "You ain't gonna have any contact with him anymore." So I never spoke to the man again.
And she
Yeah,
was sure of it.
and she said, and so when I got back in foster care, and I got this was the second time where I got, put back into the facility, the juvenile detention center, and she said, "Oh yeah, you're back." She said, "Oh yeah, I remember you very well." She's not gonna make your life a living. She's not gonna get you back with what you did. Because I guess Dr. Martolium spoke to somebody in the state regarding what Julie did, and it's something that could have affected her promotion as a caseworker. So she was not thrilled about that at all. So what she did was,
Julie was of the same spirit that was occupying all these other people that had
yes,
abused you. Yes.
it was like that spirit was following it around. And so what I remember about, she set me up with this lady named Glenna Gordon. Will never forget Glenna Gordon. Glenna Gordon stayed in Kansas City, Kansas, it was on like 78th or 89th Street. It was over there by Eisenhower Middle School.
Okay.
This it was cold. Julie couldn't really, I'm in the shelter. So the kids in the shelter get good placements. These are the ones where when foster parents are coming to adopt children, they're
Mhm.
looking for kids in the shelter area. They're not going to the juvenile side, but it's just obvious.
Of
They're
course.
going to the shelter side because those are kids it's like babies, a mother passed away, runaways, kids that were abused. And so they go to shelter. So you get
They
good
don't have behavioral problems.
problems. Correct.
Mhm.
And so that's why people that ask me about adopting, I says, "Hey, just from experience, and I kind of agree with this, it's better to go to the shelter side because those kids are more manageable, and it's best to adopt kids when they're younger."
Yeah.
Um, I'm just saying it because I says by the time they're going through all this foster care and stuff, you don't know what homes they've been in. You don't know if they've been mentally, physically, or
Right.
sexually abused. You just don't know. And I had a few friends ask me about adopting and everything. I said, just when you adopt, I said that sweet spot is if you want a baby, you can do a baby. What I mean? If some women are like, "Oh, I want this baby so bad." Okay, that's fine. But they say, "Well, what is that age of where you want a child where it's not a baby, but it's not too old to where you're going to have any type of issues?" I said it's usually ranging between, you know, 3 to like 6, maybe 7. That's around that spot. When you start, that's that spot. And then when you get to the 8 to 12 mark, when you get to the 8 to the 12 mark, you get the kids are still adoptable, but it depends on if, you gotta see their file. Your file is
Yeah.
everything, and it is that is that is the
Yeah.
golden goose of every child. So whatever's in there, that's what they're gonna say about you, whether it's true or not. And then once you get to that 13-year age, you can kiss adoption goodbye. They ain't trying to, we ain't trying to do,
Yeah, because 'cause
they
you're a
got,
teenager, hormones, like, they don't get to do any of the fun stuff, but by this time, you got some pretty, like, habits formed, right? It's not possible, but it
mhm,
also depends how long have you been in the foster care system, like, what
yes.
that file looks like, right? So, it's yeah, yeah, and even what you're talking about, like, there's research that supports all of this and, like, from a
Mhm,
developmental standpoint and all of the things that are happening. So what you're saying, it aligns with some of that. Like I haven't done like a deep, deep dive, but just like what I know about human development, those what you're saying tracks, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So where do we go? We're back in here. What's your first placement?
So the first placement was with Glenna Gordon. That's one I remember vividly because of what I experienced. So
Okay.
this was it was winter. I know that for sure because it was cold. And went to Glenna Gordon. Now, Julie Dole, her energy and demeanor, she wanted to make my life a little bit. My file cannot prove that I'm a bad kid or anything. So she went to Glenna Gordon. Now, Glenna Gordon is a known racist. I mean, when she's a this lady had Niglet memorabilia in her house. She had little black
Oh,
dolls. Like, yes, this lady. And I'm sitting here like,
Julie lady, them found you the most racist placement
yes.
possible?
And I remember that she had the little ancient
Who
mama.
was but she was a social worker that cleared this home too, then.
Yes.
She was a social worker?
Her and Julie was very good friends because I'm gonna tell you everything that goes on in this house.
My
So she
gosh.
So I get there and sit down, and the first thing out of Glenn Gore's mouth was like, "Is he going to behave? Is he going to be one of those good ones?" And, it was the talking. I was like, "Oh, this talking like I'm in in slavery times or something." And she's like, "I don't want nothing out of him, no mess." So she talks like that old 40s, 50s kind of talk.
Oh, it's
And
before
Julie said,
that, but yeah.
and so Julie was like, "Oh yeah, we'll make sure he's put together. If he gives you any problems, you come talk. You call me." So they already had kind of a plan. So what she did was because another caseworker was challenging Julie, and so they had me put my stuff in the room. So you go up the house, and when you go up the house, you have the living room. Sorry, my hands are so high. You have the living
It's
room,
fine.
and then the kitchen is right straight ahead. And
Mhm,
then you make a immediate left, and you have two bedrooms down there on the end. You have a
mhm.
bedroom uh, right there when you turn to the left, and then the basement is right there in front of the other bedroom.
Okay.
And so they had me put my clothes in that room, and I was sharing a room with, there was a young baby in there. It was a white baby. I don't know how old it was. And
Like,
then there was
in the crib.
an infant, like
Okay.
can't walk, none of that stuff. It's your baby, hold the baby. And then they had the a little black girl. Her hair, and I remember seeing her. Her hair was so unkempt. She had
Mhm.
some markings on her arm and everything. She just looked raggedy, and it was really sad. And she was around, I would probably say, probably 3 or 4 years old.
Mhm.
And so once Julie left with the caseworker, she says, "Come on out here, boy." She says, "Oh, you think you sleeping in there? Oh, you not sleeping in there. You go and grab your stuff out of there, and you going down in this basement." So I had to take all my stuff out of there, and this is dead winter, and she don't have no heat down there, no nothing. I went down there and stayed in the winter. It was this why I don't like basements and attics, especially
Okay.
basements. Went down there, it was just cold. It was dark. She had it looked like they had me in like those movies where they get the
Cellar?
yeah, they put you in the a little cot on the floor, and you get your little pillow and stuff, and that's where she had put me. And slept on that, and I was freezing. This is why I don't like the cold. People said, "Why don't you like the cold?" I said, "I hate the cold." Even when people turn on the air conditioner, I said I could take it just to cool down, but turn it off after 10,
Yeah,
15 minutes.
I don't like a lot of cold, but this is different, what you're
Yes,
describing.
I tell that's why people they say you got heater in your. I said I got heater in my room, everything. I just do not deal with the cold. It's not just because it's something psychologically that
Yeah.
happened, and I said, "I don't like it. I like to have a blanket," because she didn't give me a blanket, so even in the hot summer, they was like, "You want can you please give me a blanket? I feel protected," because I
Mhm.
didn't have that. So, um, we when I was staying there, I noticed how she treated the younger child, the black kid, and what she did was she fed us hot dogs every day. And I said, why are we being fed hot dogs every day? But the little white girl, the teenage girl, she was around 16, 17 years old. She would go ahead and feed they burgers, Burger King, Wendy's, giving her money and all this stuff. Me and the little black girl getting hot dogs every day. Eventually, the little
Mhm.
girl, she ended up throwing up. because that's on your penis is hot dogs. And I will never forget Glenna. Glenna was around her 70s. She says, "Oh, you didn't stay here and wasted my damn food." She picked the little girl up by her hair. And I don't know how this old white woman found the strength, but she picked her up and she slung the little black girl against the wall. And she hit it and she had got a knot right here. And she was crying and everything. She said, "Go and take your ass to bed." Evil people find, and I don't know how they find the strength to do that.
Well, you just said it, right? Like evil.
Yeah, it's wicked woman. I will never
Yeah.
forget Glenna Gordon. Never forget her. And she's like, "And you go and clean this up." She probably did that because you here. She's trying to show out. And it was always something with her. And then I will never remember one time the white girl that was in the house, the one that should have been getting whooped or whatever, but the white girl, of course, was stronger than Glenna. The white girl, I guess Glenna didn't give her some money one day, and the white girl
Mhm,
brought a boyfriend over and had sex in her bed while Glenna was out there in the living room. And Glenna heard all this noise and stuff from them, and she opened the door and she says, "What are you in here doing?" She says, "You didn't give me no money. I'm having sex in your bed." And white people and have sex with her. And so I guess she told the boy to get out. She's gonna call the cops. The boy ran and got out the house. And the white girl, took this stuffed animal and threw it at Glenna. And Glenna was like, it was like a whole argument. It was like a TV show.
mhm,
And I said, instead of getting this white girl together, you sit here, you pick up that little black kid and you pick her up by her hair and throw her against the wall.
mhm,
But you don't do that to that white girl.
mhm.
And that's when I knew. I said dealing with that type of racism and evil, it is so uncomfortable. You can't, it just consumes you. The energy in the house just
Mhm,
consumes, you can feel it. And even when I was in the basement, this one I like basements, but I used to see like shadow figures in that basement. I also saw the same shadow figures when my mom was with Michael. I had two really scary encounters with some demons. We'll talk about that another time or whatever, but it's these shadow figures, and it just, you can feel the energy. So when it comes to basement addicts, I just don't mess with it.
mhm.
Also got bit by so out in California we have black widows that are dangerous, but in Kansas and the Midwest we have brown recluses. I got bit by brown recluses. Everybody said, you don't like?" I said, "I don't mess with spiders at all." And I still got some of the welts on my, and I have like a welt right here.
Mhm.
So it's like a spider bite and everything because it causes necrosis. It eats your skin. And I know some people that get bit by them and die. They get like a big hole in their, affected. It's disgusting.
Mhm.
And you can go look them up online.
I don't wanna see it because I won't be able to get it out of my mind.
Yeah, I don't mess with spiders at all. I spray around the house. I don't care how people feel about it. My experience as a child, that's just how I gotta
Yeah,
protect
you don't
myself.
have to explain that, right? Just like I don't, and that's enough.
And also, what Glenna would do, we would go to Perkins. I don't know if you guys heard of that restaurant. Perkins was a chain restaurant back then.
Like fish, they got fish, like Perkins is the yellow and green sign.
Yes, that they're not around anymore, but Perkins was like one she used to
You're
go to a lot.
right, because there was one where I grew up, but I don't think
Mhm.
it's there anymore.
Yeah, they've been going wild. And she would take us to Perkins and she would have us, I got some papers right here, and she would have us go to the menu and she'll say, "Okay, go to the menu and pick out what you want." So we'll go and pick out something on the menu of what we want. And then what she would do is the food would come and she would say, and we would go eat, me and the little black girl. And what she would do is she would say, "That food ain't for you. I just ordered that so y'all can see us eat this and eat your food as well." So what she did was I'm telling you, she took the food and she went ahead and ate their food. And then the white girl, this shrimp is so good, ain't it? Ooh, and this eating in front of us. And we're sitting here. She says, "Y'all got hot dogs at home."
This is cruel.
And we sat there and watched them eat Perkins, and she did that every time they went to Perkins. Then,
Oh,
this was
God.
my first time meeting like a adult, well, more of adult, I'll say an adult Asian. There was this, I guess her son or whoever this guy was, somebody that she knew was married to this Asian woman, and this Asian woman was overly submissive and, "Who please," and like he was so scared of this white man that she was married to. And I don't know if that was her nephew because I don't know who it was with her, but we always used to visit him and he was so evil. And that house smelled like, it just smelled like dog. I don't care how people white folks feel, it smelled like that. And even Glenn and them had like an odor to them. It was a gross odor because
Well,
growing
we don't gotta go deep into that.
we didn't gotta
But
go deep.
scent is tied to memory, right?
Yeah, so the scent just gets to me, and
Mm,
I used to hate going to that man's house because that man would have me and a little girl sit in the corner with our legs crossed like Indians and sit over there, and we can't be still. We have to be still there to sit there while everybody in the house and the kids is running around playing. And I was just like, I hated it was so much that was going on there. And I would never before the big incident happened before I left her house, because she was
mhm.
my first foster home. She
Right.
pulled out a wad of money and it was like rows and rows of like 20s and hundreds. She says, yeah, this is what I get for the babies and the young kids and everything. I don't get nothing for you older kids and everything. This is the money I get. So she said, I don't need you here. I can get you out of here at any time. Just remember that. And she put the wad of her money and she says,
So
if I see
cute.
any money going in my bag or anything, you're out of here. So if the white girl took it, I'm out of there.
Yep, and that
And so the first day of school was in August or something, and they had enrolled me, and I went to go to school. This was my official last day staying there.
okay.
Tell you how the official last day happened. I go
Okay.
outside, come from the basement, go outside and everything, put on my school clothes and everything. I go outside. She hurry up and closed the door and locked it. It was so loud. She opened the curtains. The curtains. I heard the curtains from outside.
The girl or Glenda?
Glenda, the girl was already at school,
Okay.
and she's sitting there watching. And so I'm like, it's so weird. And so I'm walking and everything, and all I hear is, "Boy, yeah, go on, get him, boy." And her neighbor across the street had I don't know the pits or rock rouse, and they came and they ran. And so I'm scared, and I ran on to her car. It was a blue van.
Mhm.
Ran onto her car, and I was screaming. I was hitting them with my backpack, and they the big dogs. And they were trying to get me and everything. And babe, I was wearing their asses out with that backpack. I'm sorry. I had to fight. You
You
know,
did, like,
I'm
that's
from the
the
hood,
thing,
so I
yes.
had to fight. And he was so upset that the dogs would get me. He said, "Get over back here, get over back here." He took one of the dogs. The other dog ran. He like kicked the other dog, and it ran in the house. And so, that he took the other dog and just slammed it on the floor outside. And the dog
Mhm.
said, "Arr!" and ran into the house. He said, "Get in here, came to get your job done right." Glenna opens up the window. "Go on, get off that car, boy. Those dogs don't even want you. They was just trying to play. Get out of here. Go to school." Every time I think about that, I'm just like, this crazy white set this stuff up to get me mauled by dogs.
You already know who you are. This is a reminder of whose you are. Every piece in the Rise and Thrive collection carries that same truth we talk about every week. You are chosen, you are held, and you are walking in purpose. Wear it, carry it. The collection is live now.
All right, beautiful people. If this episode has already blessed you in any sort of way, we ask that you like, subscribe, follow, share, and leave comments. Feedback helps this message reach the people who need it most. And if you're listening and thinking, I'm ready to go deeper in my healing journey, we invite you to join our school community where we continue these conversations between episodes. And it's an opportunity to connect with like-minded individuals committed to growth, healing, and purpose. Also, do not forget, you can shop the merch and also explore all things Evolve at evolvewithdrjnicole.com. If you love today's look and you're wondering about this hair, you can use my promo code with the link in the description to get 15% off with Unice Hair. That's UNICE. Thank you for rising with us.
Yeah, we rise, we thrive. Yeah, we step in our life. Feel good, we alive. Everything aligned. Yeah, we rise and thrive with Dr. J. Nicole. Give a long way, yeah, we still growing. Feet on 10, yeah, still showing. No more fear, yeah, we keep going. What's for me, I'm still knowing. Every step got purpose on it. Every loss, yeah, it turned to something. Now we up, yeah, we moving different. Whole life got a new position. Yeah, we rise, we time. No rush, I'm walking in grace. Everything happening right on time. Healing look good on me. Growth got a hold on me. I'm who I'm called to be. Yeah, that's the energy.